Hey everybody, it's Eric with District 82. I am working on a new game here, Memory Lane. It's got a lot of different issues, but there's one specifically that comes up a lot on this era of pinball machine. A lot of people get frustrated by it, and I want to show you what it is. All right, so right now I got it in gameplay mode as if it's playing, and so you can see that this flipper works. But then when you hit the right flipper, you can see that doing that. Okay. Oh, but all of a sudden it works, right? And then it'll start doing it again. That's called machine gunning. Typically, that's a coil issue. It's not an end of stroke issue. It's a coil issue. And what it is the low voltage winding is not, it's either broken or it's got a loose contact, etc. So let's check that out. Okay, so here I am under the flipper looking at this. And as you can see, oh, there it's working again, right? So if I hold the flipper down and actually wiggle this wire, you see all that sparking going on right there? Right at the base where the hole is. That is not making a good connection with that. I mean, I called it a low voltage winding or high resistance winding. You can see that little thin wire right there. On the white plastic going to this end of the diode to that hole, and this side has the thick wire right here. So this is like your high power and the other side is your low power. They both connect in the middle, and what's happening is that winding is busted. Okay, and most people just replace the coil, but there may be a chance to repair that winding, and let's see if we can actually repair it and get this coil back up and running. Okay, so here's this coil on the workbench. I know most people are like, oh, just replace the coil, it'll play better, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. Okay, if the resistance is good from, the high voltage side for the low power, essentially the hold winding, and the high power, most of the time it's fine. A big thing to find out is if your coil sleeve if it goes in and out like super smooth, that thing has not been melted, it's not been heated up, it's fine. But the biggest thing is just you measure your resistance across the terminals, and if the resistance is good, then it's fine. What's the resistance? Well, check your other coil and check that out. So here's that low voltage winding. Yep, there it is right there. Boom, look at that. See how it's busted off? So if we can get this to connect back to here, then this coil will be fixed and we don't have to buy a new coil, which are, 12, 15 bucks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unwrap the paper and I'm going to see if this winding, if I can unwrap one revolution, sand some wire off and reattach it here. If not, you'll see when we unwrap this thing, if it's coming out the very bottom, then it's a little more difficult to reattach. Okay, so I unwrapped the paper so I could get to this wire, right? And unfortunately, the wire is actually coming out from the bottom of the bundle. When you look at the paper here, it says 25-500, 34-5050. What that means is 25 gauge wire with 500 windings for your high power, 34 gauge and 5050 windings for your hold power, which is your low power. And it connects on two ends. Now, unfortunately, this one's coming out from under the bottom. So what I'm going to do is, since I don't have a whole lot of slack here, I can't really do this on camera. I'm going to take my sandpaper and I'm going to sand off that red plastic coating, and then I'm going to wrap it. Since I don't have a lot, I'm going to wrap it around the end of this diode and solder it right to that, and that will reestablish my connection. I will check it with my meter to make sure it's all connected and good, and then I'll reinstall it in the game. Okay, so I sanded the red insulator off of the wire, and I was able to actually poke that wire back through the hole, which is what you're supposed to do. And down here you could see it, there it is, sticking up. And then I'm going to push it on top of this right here, so it's nice and tight, and then I'm going to solder it right to the lug, and then I'll check it with my meter and make sure everything's okay, and then I'll rewrap the coil with the wrapper. All right, I have rewrapped it. You can see now this wire comes in nice and it doesn't move now that I flick it. It is resoldered in on the top and the bottom. I resoldered it all in there. Now the test here is I've got this on resistance or on ohms. I'm going to, I got to do this with one hand here so you guys can actually see that she's good to go. See what we got here, about 380. So for this coil, that's actually a good reading. And then the high power side, you know, you got 3.3. So that's your you know, your initial stroke. What's this one here? Okay. Yeah, 380. So, and if you don't know what it's supposed to be, you can just check your other coil in the game, or another one of the similar value, or actually just look it up online and see what the value is supposed to be. But that's your hold power. And if for some reason the game doesn't have enough hold power, you can just change out to a different coil. Later on they changed this to like a 34-4500, so it had a little more power on the hold side. Okay, here's the same coil back in the game now, and as I flip it, we don't have any issues. If I hold the flipper button in and actually wiggle the connector, you can see that everything's nice and solid. It's not machine gunning anymore, and it works fine. Now, before this goes to my place, I'm gonna actually do a full flipper rebuild, but that coil will be the original coil, and it will stay in the game. Everything else, though, is all gonna get changed out. But all that to save about 15 bucks. It may seem like a lot of work, but if you fix a lot of pinball machines, you know, this is how you can save these coils, and they're good to go.